So what do we have tasty? Dirt. Hi guys, it's Elena, and I'm enchanted to have you be here on my channel. Are you a little bit confused by the intro and me baking the dirt? Well, let me explain that to you in a little bit. First, guys, hit that thumbs up button to like this video, subscribe if you want to see more plant content or unboxings or some witchy stuff, and just to become my YouTube friend, and let's talk about plants. So every couple of months I do this massive overhaul and I give my plants a spa day. Not all of my plants got a spa day this time around, but a good half of them did, and I just wanted to repot a couple, check a couple roots, and just make sure all of them are doing fine, give them a nice bath, give them a nice watering, and to wipe down all the plants. The dirt that you saw in the oven is dirt from past plants and past repottings that I have used that have been sitting around, and I just wanted to sterilize it in case there's any buggies or flies or things like that living in there. I've had some pretty bad and traumatic experiences from using dirt that was kind of old and buying dirt that was kind of not packaged properly from stores, where I'd end up getting bugs and flies and all sorts of nasties in the dirt. So I really like to sterilize it before I repot my plants. And if you're curious as to how, I set the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and I bake it for around half an hour, then I let it cool and use the dirt like usual. The drawback to baking the dirt is that some of the nutrients could be baked out, so make sure you watch your plants, you fertilize them properly, and just take care of your plant babies. So this first plant here is called the cast iron plant, and it is beautiful and it is tall. I have purchased her off of Amazon. Anything that I'm using here that I have links for, I'll put it down in the description if you're curious to check it out. And this cast iron plant is supposed to be able to survive anything, drought or poor dirt or miscare. It's supposed to be a really, really good first plant for you to have. I've had her for a couple of months and she was completely ready to burst out of her first pot. So I repotted her, and now she has a new home in this bigger pot, and hopefully she's gonna give off more babies. I use a mixture of Dawn dish soap, water, and a couple of drops of neem oil to create this wash for the leaves. I would recommend not to use too much neem oil because some plants could be sensitive to it, and I make sure I wipe down every single leaf starting from the top to the bottom, on the top side and underneath the plant. The top side because it helps with the photosynthesis for the plant, that's where it gets its nutrients. The bottom are the plant pores where it excretes oxygen. I say excretes because oxygen is a waste for the plant, but it's good for us, and it takes in carbon dioxide through the bottom of the plants. So make sure that every inch of your plant is nice and clean. You don't have to do this all the time, but I'd say wipe down your plants on like a bi-weekly, monthly at the least basis. I'm also creating a neem oil and water spray where I do mainly water and a good amount of neem oil, and I spray that on top of the soil after I do the waterings, and that helps prevent any sort of buggies to get in there. Even if you have some buggies, or if you don't have any buggies at all, it's good to kind of use it as a preventative measure, and I like to do it every time after I water the plants because damp soil and dirty plants can attract some bugs. And like I said, I have been traumatized in my past experiences. If you're curious to how I ended up clearing out the fungus gnat fly infestation that I've had, I think maybe 2 months ago, that ended up killing a couple of my plants, let me know. I'll do like a story time or how I rescued my plants. This is just an overall kind of care guide of what I do on my plants, or what I do for my plants. The soil that I'm using is basic potting mix. makes me sneeze sometimes because it's really dry. And my favorite soil it has been purchasing off of Amazon. It's this Expand and Grow. It's very airy, it's very light, and it really provides the plant a lot of aeration in the roots. And it's a little bit on the pricier side than normal soil would be, but I would highly recommend it using for indoor plants. I also mix in a ton of perlite. I'd much rather have extra perlite than not enough, and as well as diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is a great kind of calcium-based nutrient for the plants. They really like it, and again, it helps prevent any sort of buggies from getting in there and getting at the roots. Here I am, kind of creating a succulent mix, I suppose. I purchased these maybe 2 months ago off of Amazon. I did a little video on them already. I'll link it up at the top if you're curious to check it out, but I decided to do a little kind of collection of them. I know they're fairly small right now. I'm hoping that they'll grow into the pot. This pot does not have any drainage holes, so I will have to be careful with watering and taking care of them. But I'm loving like the natural-esque of it. I think it's a cement planter thingy that I purchased off of TJ Maxx. And here I am breaking up a couple more succulents and just tucking them in there, and this is going to be my new tabletop decoration, and I'm loving how it's turning out. Super cute. I planted a couple echeverias. There are some donkey's tails, I think painted lady, and I don't remember all the names of these, but pretty much a ton of succulents. Just sticking them everywhere, and hopefully they're gonna grow and be big and cover up the whole entire pot. Again, water them fairly sparingly, but keep an eye on them continuously. And since it's at my dining table, I'll see it on a daily basis pretty much. Always spray it with the neem oil, just in case, for buggies. I don't like buggies. Alright, the next one is another succulent type. This is a trailing plant or a vining plant. I don't know the name of it, I'm really sorry, but it's cute. It grew like 2 inches since I purchased it, and I'm really happy to repot it and give it some more room for growth. Next one is String of Bananas. The only reason I remember the name of it is because it's kind of shaped like bananas. Again, this one grew a ton since I purchased it, so I'm repotting it into a slightly bigger pot to give it more room. I'm also watering all the plants that have drainage holes completely thoroughly, and I say it's really great when you're repotting them. It kind of kickstarts off the roots and gives that dry soil a little bit more moisture. So I water until it comes out of the bottom and kind of give it a really good bath. Some of the succulents ended up getting too leggy. They're going to go in for propagation. And onto repotting this cute little cacti. I have this mug. I never use it for tea. It was a birthday present from my aunt. It's so cute, and I just thought it would be such a great idea to use a cactus. Youch. That one hurt. Even if I'm wearing a glove. Be very careful, guys. They're very prickly and pokey. I always try to massage the roots for the plants that I'm repotting just to stimulate some growth, and check them while I'm doing so. Make sure the roots are all healthy, there's nothing rotting, there's nothing going on there. And I repotted it, and just look how cute the little guy is. Be very careful with cacti. Look how cute. Look at that little smile. Ah! Love that little guy. Again, that one does not have a drainage hole either, but it's a cactus and it prefers to be dry most of the time anyway, so I think that will be okay. Hopefully. Alright, on to the next plants. For these cacti and succulents, I'm using a cactus mix dirt. I'm really not entirely sure why it's so different. It just seems like a finer grain of the soil I've already have. But it was recommended. I did a little bit of research and made sure that it was okay. And here I am finding a happy little jade leaf that fell off that I didn't notice, but it already sprouted a new one, so I'm excited! I'm always excited when plants grow. Okay, put those aside. The leggy succulents will be used for propagation and making more succulents. There we go. Watering that pretty jade. Good watering for it. Yeah, water's coming out, so it's good. Spray it with that neem oil. And let's do some more. Put on my glove because these are prickly and pokey. This one was the worst of the cacti. Oh my goodness. It looks fluffy and fuzzy, but I ended up having to pull out like at least 3 nearly invisible splinters because of this. Be very, very careful with cacti. And oh my goodness, it was so annoying, and they hurt so bad, and they were pretty unnoticeable. It sucked. So just keep an eye out, be careful, wear probably proper gardening gloves. That was just like a winter glove because I don't know where my gardening ones are. And then all of these plants are also going to get a nice photo shoot because I'm updating my botanical Bible, my botanical book. If you want to see me create my botanical book, I'm also going to link that up at the top if you're curious. Take nice photos. I love taking the photos and tracking their growth. Oh my goodness, it's so much fun and it's so exciting because I see these plants on almost a daily basis, and sometimes you kind of end up losing track of just how big they got, and flipping through the book, it's just, oh, so great. So great. Alright, on to the last 2 cacti. I'm not entirely sure what their names are. If someone has much better botanical knowledge than I do, let me know. I'm curious to kind of know. For me, right now, they're just cacti. They're pricks and pokies. This little dude ended up sprouting a couple babies off to the side, so I pushed them off to the side and then repotted them back in. I lost one in there. Oops. They're fairly tiny, but hopefully I ended up putting it back in and it'll pop out. And there's that other one. Oop. Now I have some cacti babies. Since the dirt is very, very dry, I'm going to water them thoroughly and completely. I've waited for all of these plants to kind of dry out before I repotted them. That way it's easier for the soil to kind of fall out from between the roots, and I know that the roots won't be too disappointed if they got a good amount of water this time around. And especially since this dirt has been baked and pretty much fully dehydrated, I just figured it's a good idea to give them a really good bath. Alright, this is a Christmas cactus, which I have also purchased off of Amazon. And here it is. You ready? Bug. There was the centipede or millipede thingy down in the roots, and it just takes one bug, just one bug, for me to put my gloves on. Yep, traumatized. I don't like bugs, they scare me. I'm cleaning out that dirt pot completely just in case there's any like eggs left over. I sterilized it with a Clorox wipes, and gloves are on because bug. I usually prefer to repot my plants and deal with my plants without gloves on. I love feeling the soil, and it just makes my heart happier when I kind of end up feeling the soil and being able to play with the dirt. But bugs kind of scare me. I have a little bit of a phobia with things more than 4 legs, so that millipede was bad. Alright, mixing in some diatomaceous earth and repotting some more fun plants. This is an elephant ear that I propagated off of the main mother plant. I don't know the scientific name for it, it's kind of long, but it grew some roots and I'm pretty excited to repot it. Look how pretty it is. Give all of them a good watering and neem oil spray. And this little baby is a Calathea. Give her a nice trim before I repotted her. I purchased her from Costco, I believe. They had a pretty good deal on plants. I think she was only like $6, and her leaves are huge and gorgeous, and I just love her. So I'm repotting her into it there, giving her roots a little bit more growth. And if you can see closely, there's like little pointy things on the side, so she's going to be throwing out some more leaves, and I'm really happy. I just love the size and the greenness and like the pattern of those leaves. Oh, beautiful. She lives in my living room and just makes me smile each time I see her. All my plants make me smile when I see them. Maybe at some point I'll do like a mini house tour and show you all of my houseplants. Let me know down in the comments if you're curious to see that. Give her a nice big bath. That expanding soil, as you can see, it kind of expanded out and it just ended up squishing it down a little bit, giving these leaves a good wipe down, top and bottom, nice and shiny. I'm not entirely sure what it is about plants and taking care of plants. It really makes my day better, I suppose, and it really kind of brings joy into my life. It's something with the dirt or the plants or the fact that I'm not killing them is what makes me really happy. Alright, that is a little, I think it's a pink nerve plant. Got this one from Home Depot. I'm just massaging the dirt, trying to take some of it out, freeing up some of the roots, and planting her in. She is a bit of a dramatic one. She is very dramatic, and just the moment that she does not get enough water, she's like flat down in the bottom, and as soon as you water her, like 2 hours later, boom, she's perked right back up. She's almost as dramatic as my peace lily. Now that is a very dramatic plant. I adore my peace lily. This is a purple waffle plant, and she needs some TLC. She got way too leggy. The spot that she was in wasn't getting enough sun, and I accidentally forgot to water her a few times. That's why you see the brown. So she's getting a really good trim, and she's getting some TLC with some brand new dirt in a smaller pot. A thing I've learned with plants is don't put them in a pot that's too big. They don't seem to like it. It needs to be just the size or just a little bit bigger. If it's too big, I don't know if it's getting too much water or if it's just not happy with how much room it has. Sometimes plants really don't like having too much room. So what I started doing is just placing it into a container that's just a little bit bigger than what they originally came in, and monitoring their root growth every couple months. If you have any questions for plants, let me know down in the comments. Right now I'm just kind of learning as I go. I'm no expert. I'm just happy I'm keeping them alive. I'm definitely doing a ton of research. Look at my concentrated face. I am so focused. Definitely doing a lot of research and trying my absolute best. This plant was, this rubber tree was repotted before, but I didn't like with the rocks on top of there, and it ended up going through some stressful situation with the buggies the past couple of months. She survived, so I figured I'd repot her into a bigger pot, as I have next to me there, but I've noticed that her roots are fairly small, so I decided not to repot her into a bigger pot and to actually go a little smaller. And hopefully she's gonna be nice and happy in there. I love the leaves of this rubber gum tree. They're so like thick and luscious and like leathery feeling. It's such a beautiful plant, and it's so like much fun to work with, I guess. That rubber gum tree was one of the first plants that I've received from Lunarly, my subscription, and it's kind of been around for a while. Same thing with that purple waffle plant. That's also been a Lunarly subscription plant from way back when. I think maybe over a year ago now. And they're all doing great. wiping down those leaves, getting into all the nooks and crannies. There's my puppy walking around. So I have a lot of plants, as you can tell. As you could probably see in... Oh, there's my Lila. She always loves to say hi. She seems to be sniffing around for some water, so I decided to give her some. And then my puppy decided to harass her and almost knocked the camera down. Almost knocked it down. I was scared for the camera's life. And mad at the dog. So, on to much happier things. These are some... I think these are also a succulent type. They bloom very pretty flowers. One of them is yellow, the other one is pink. They're done with their blooming season. That's why I end up plucking a couple of the leaves out that have... And there was a bug in there. Bad bug. Die bug. The flowers are done with their blooms. They're very pretty in yellow pink, as I was saying. And, well, I put them into similar pots because they're kind of together and they're just super cute. Plucking out the past blooms, massaging out the roots, and that's that. I remember at one point, my mom was over when I was taking care of some of my plants, and she saw me massaging out the roots, and she like completely freaked out and was like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" And I'm just staring at her like, it helps the plant grow. I understand some plants are very sensitive and very tender. I don't really have a lot of those plants that are super delicate, so I tend to kind of harass the roots of all the plants. And if they die, then I make sure they don't do it the next time. So far, that hasn't killed them. Onto a bigger pot. This is a pitcher plant, or a Chinese pitcher plant. It's the pitcher plant that ends up catching bugsies. So right now it doesn't have any pitchers on it because when it was delivered, during the delivery process, they pour out all of the fluid from the pitcher, and even though I tried to keep them preserved and I poured some distilled water in them, it helped a little bit, they do end up drying out and kind of falling off. So you end up having to wait until new pitchers are formed. She has a couple new leaves at the top that seem to be showing signs that they're gonna end up having some pitchers, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that she'll survive. I also ended up purchasing a Venus flytrap, but that died really quickly and I'm not sure why. So I didn't put the pitcher plant into a drainage type of pot because it likes to be wet and moist and humid. So I think she's going to prefer that more than a pot that drains really easily. I'll keep you guys updated if you're curious about it. Again, I'm wiping down all of the leaves, top and bottom, making sure she's all nice and clean. I haven't really taken care of her since I've gotten her delivered a while back. She was just kind of sitting on my kitchen island and surviving, I guess. And that past bamboo skewer from the last plant, I'm putting it on here so that I can tie her up and let her have more support trailing up. That way when the pitchers come out, they're going to end up drooping down the proper way. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I've never really worked with this plant before. This is kind of my first carnivorous plant that I haven't killed yet. So we'll see how that goes. It might change. I might end up killing her. I'll let you know. Alright, on to the big guy. This plant, I was looking to get her online and they were so expensive. This is a Monstera delicosa. They're so expensive online. They're like $30, $40, $50, $60, and especially for the size that I have, I ended up finding her at Home Depot for like under $20. I think she was $18. And look how beautiful she is. And I was so happy that I found her. I scooped her right up. And I'm repotting her. She's a little bit root bound. I end up massaging the roots inside the pot because she was very, very heavy and I couldn't really keep her up, so I just left the same dirt in there. Just made sure to keep an eye out on it and check the roots that I can see. She seems to be doing okay. I always check the bottom of the repotted plants because you can also see signs of bugs or any disease on the bottom of plants that on the bottom of the pots of the plants that you've repotted. Wow, that was a lot of peas. So just keep an eye on everything. Take care of your plant babies. And I just love how big she is. She took a lot of dirt to repot. This plant lives in our bedroom, pretty close to the bathroom, so she gets a little bit of humidity from our bathroom when we shower, and she gets pretty good, I would say medium amount of light. And she's been in her grower pot sitting in our room, I think for maybe a month and a half. She's been doing pretty good. She even threw out a couple baby leaves, which make me so happy. Give her a nice big watering. I like monsteras. You can kind of tell if you've overwatered them or underwatered them fairly simply. Not only do I have a watering kind of device to check the moisture level of the soil, but monsteras cry if they're getting way too much water. It's okay for the monsteras to have a couple tears, so to speak, on the tips of their leaves, but if there's too many, then it means you're way overwatering them and you need to cut down. It's also a good type of plant to start with because not only does it cry if you're not taking care of it well enough, but it is also able to expunge the overwatering. So it has a really good defense mechanism. I'm not sure if that's making sense. I hope I'm making sense. Give her leaves a nice big scrub. I have not come up with a name for this monstera yet. I like to give all my plants names. So if you have any recommendations for a monstera plant name, let me know. What should I name her? Another plant that I'm keeping my eye out for is a variegated monstera, the one that's with green and white. Oh, they're so pretty and they're so expensive. So I'm hoping that at some point I'll stumble across one. Give her a good photo shoot for my plant book, and on to the next plants. Alright, this is a Madagascar dragon tree. This is not the one from Lunarly, if you guys Lunarly subscriber, but I have done a terrible, terrible thing. I accidentally sliced her roots in half when I went in with the little shovel. So hopefully she's gonna survive my mistake. She already was kind of not doing so great, but I've almost killed her. And that's my husband taking the plant back to the room. She was heavy and he's the muscle. He doesn't really mind my plant obsession. He actually kind of helps out, which is pretty cool. He does not know the names of any of the plants though, so if I ask him to bring one for like watering or whatever, it's like, hey, can you bring the monstera from our bedroom? And he's like, which one is that? And I'm like, the one that has all the holes in it. I think the only one that he really remembers is the donkey's tail. Alright, that next batch of dirt is done baking, and I just took it out and let it cool. I don't know the name of this plant either. but it's very pretty. And it hasn't died yet. I've had her for at least 6 months. She was one of the first plants that I've got, and she actually threw out a ton of babies. She was usually a companion on my desk, but she ended up getting too tall and too big, and I couldn't see over her, so she's now living in the living room. And I think she really liked that spot because she ended up throwing out even more babies, so I'm super happy. And I'm happy that the plant is happy. Alright, I've really traumatized that Madagascar tree. I do hope she survives. I'm gonna take extra care with her and hope that she comes back to life. There's my puppy running around again. And onto more plants. Ended up opening the window shades because I was kind of at it all night, and this is sunrise. And I just didn't want to stop because I wanted to get all the plants done. Mixing in my dirt, extra perlite, diatomaceous earth, make sure it's all nice and good. Alright, onto the mama elephant ear plant. And I've noticed that at her roots, she has a couple more babies that she's gonna give me. So I'm being super careful, super gentle around the roots before I repot her. I'm also keeping all the dirt separate from the plants that I've taken out. If you notice, I have 2 different bowls where the dirt that I used to repot is at, and the dirt that I used to actually put into the pots. So the dirt that I take off the plants go into the oven to be sterilized and to be used next, just in case any critters, mold, or any bad thingies are in there. And this is another lunar leaf plant that I just put on the desk that you can't really see. It's a spider plant. And she got tall since she was delivered. Like, she got so big, and I'm super excited. Just giving that elephant ear a good wipe down, a good bath. Getting all between all the little veins and nooks and crannies in the bottom of the leaf. Pretty much giving the plant a nice spa day. Now, after repotting your plants, keep a good eye on them for like 3 weeks to a month and a half, just to make sure that they're adapting well to the soil and that they're doing pretty good. And only then add fertilizer to pretty much the soil or the plant. Alright, repotting that snake plant. I think the most type of plants I have are snake plants because they're so pretty. They grow fairly quickly if they're in like a nice sunny and happy spot, and they give off a lot of babies, which just makes me so happy. I know you can kind of put the snake plants into one pot and like kind of let it bush out. I prefer the slightly minimalistic look where it's in a pretty pot and there's just 1 or 2 snake plants, so I much prefer that. There's another lunar leaf plant, and those are the golden pothos that I ended up getting 2 of. Yay! So I'm putting them into matching pots, and they're going to be on the bedside, on the lampshade table thingies that I have. I kind of have like a high top shelf, and I'm putting them on either sides of our bed to kind of give it a good symmetrical look. Here's another one he brought from our bedroom. Spraying all of them down with neem oil and giving them a trim. I'm just talking with my husband there. With plants, I've noticed that if a leaf is not doing that great and you see that it's turning brown, and I'd say more than 30% of that leaf is like brown, don't be afraid to snip it. Just snip it. There's no point for letting the plant expend its energy to keep that leaf alive. So just get rid of it, and it's gonna start over, and it's gonna do much better with its greener leaves. So I think the rule of thumb is if 30% or more of the leaf is kind of dying, then get rid of it. At least that's what I have been doing. Also give these guys a bath. I am super excited for these golden pothos to just explode and get super viney and bushy and great and just trail down over the lampshades and things like that I have near our bedroom. Oh, I'm so excited. Right now they look a little tiny up there, but I'm waiting for them to get all viney and pretty. This is a ZZ plant, and it was one of the first plants that I have purchased. It was, I think, 1/3 of the size when I got it, and it got big and it is happy. So here I am trying to measure a grower pot that would fit in there, because that pot does not have a drainage hole, and my husband said that he's going to trim it and kind of tape it. I'll show it to you later, but he's going to trim it to size so it fits into that pot. While he's doing that, I'm going to separate a little chunk from the plant. The roots kind of remind me of potatoes. It's like a very bulby plant, and the roots really do look like potatoes. It's kind of cool. So now out of one ZZ plant, I have 2 ZZ plants. What should I name this little baby? Give me comments down below. Let me know what I should name the ZZ and the Monstera. Since this is a new baby, she needs a new name. Give her a good watering. Make sure the soil's coming out. Make sure the water is coming out, not the soil. Yikes. Alright, that little plant that I'm repotting is a ponytail palm, and she's so cute. I think probably next year I'm gonna have to split them up a little bit, because the bottoms of those ponytails palm get pretty big. Though for now she's doing fairly well. I'm giving her a good haircut for her ponytail and then giving her a nice bath. See, he trimmed it, and then he ended up slitting down the 2 sides so it can kind of fold in on itself, and then just duct tape down that slit so it fits into that pot. He's so great. He's so good. Putting in some soil for that little ZZ plant. Making sure they're all nice and tight in there. At one point, my dog ended up eating part of this ZZ plant, and she broke one of the long ones in half, so I ended up rehabbing her, and I tied her to a skewer, and she ended up healing over and standing tall. It's that tallest one that you see there. On the side of it, she kind of has like this chunk that's a different color, and that's where she healed herself, which I think is phenomenal. But she's doing great. More neem oil spray. Ta-da! I am done with all the plants. Subscribe and like for more plant content, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye!